February 28th, 2025. And you know what that means.
Back for another deep dive with the Videntis podcast.
That's right.
Always appreciate you tuning in with us.
We appreciate having you here to kind of help us unpack all this crazy news.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Today is a particularly intense news cycle.
Absolutely.
We've got potential immigration raids.
Yeah.
Trump's name has shown up on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs.
Wow.
And there's a controversial new budget plan
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
that could reshape how our government works.
It's like we're feeling this undercurrent of anxiety and uncertainty.
You definitely feel it.
It's kind of gripping the nation right now.
Yeah, it feels like we're on shaky ground, just waiting for the next, earthquake.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's start with this story that's causing a lot of fear for families.
Okay.
The possibility of these large-scale immigration raids.
Right, and these aren't just like policy changes. They're a real threat
Yes.
to families, especially mixed immigration status families, where, some members might be undocumented.
Right.
And the idea of parents being taken away from their children,
It's a nightmare.
it is.
It's awful.
And so many people are facing that possibility right now.
Absolutely. And the Videntis report really highlights just how much of an impact this could have
Yeah.
on the childcare and agricultural sectors.
Right, because they rely so heavily on immigrant labor.
You
It's
got
a
it.
huge part of those industries.
And we talked to Lawrence Benito. He's the executive director of the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
Okay.
And he said, quote, "We're asking people to make their voices heard because I just don't see how they get to the scale that they're talking about without tearing families apart."
I mean, it's a chilling thought
It is.
to think about families being torn apart.
And it's not just the emotional toll.
No, absolutely not.
This could have huge economic impacts.
Think about it. If parents are too afraid to go to work,
Yeah.
or if they get detained,
Right.
who's going to take care of the kids?
Who's going to harvest the crops?
Yes. Exactly. We're already dealing with a childcare crisis here.
That's right.
Over 97,000 licensed family childcare homes have closed just between 2005 and 2017.
Wow.
So imagine if even more childcare options just disappear.
Because of these raids.
Yeah.
It's a scary thought.
It's like a perfect storm brewing.
It is, and it really makes you think about the long-term consequences.
Right. What kind of message are we sending?
As a country.
Exactly. What's the lasting impact going to be on these communities and families?
It's important to remember, though, that there are organizations out there like the ACLU,
Yes.
the Immigrant Legal Resource Center.
Right.
They're doing so much to support immigrant communities.
Absolutely. They're working tirelessly to provide resources.
Yeah.
And they're running those Know Your Rights campaigns.
That's crucial right now.
Yeah, to educate and empower those communities.
Okay, so we've got one potential crisis brewing, and now we're going to move on to another.
Okay.
A story that has really shaken up the political landscape.
All right. I'm listening.
Trump's name has appeared on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs.
Wow. This is huge.
This is a bombshell,
It really is.
and it could completely change how we see Trump and his presidency.
It really could, especially the timing of it all right in the middle of his second term.
And the fact that it was Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi
Yeah, a longtime Trump ally.
who made these logs public.
Some people are criticizing her, saying this was politically motivated.
Yeah,
But regardless of why she did it,
the logs are out there,
the information is out there.
and they paint a pretty disturbing picture.
Yeah, it's not just that Trump flew with Epstein.
Right.
The logs show that he flew with Marla Maples.
And Tiffany Trump.
Family members.
Yeah, suggesting that maybe they were closer than we thought.
Absolutely. And then there's that detail about Ghislaine Maxwell being on one of the flights.
And of course, everyone remembers Maxwell.
Epstein's associate.
Convicted in 2021 on federal charges of sex trafficking minors.
It casts a huge shadow over Trump's connection to Epstein.
No doubt.
People want answers. Force.
They want to know what was the extent of Trump's involvement with Epstein.
Right.
Did he know about Epstein's crimes?
Did he participate?
Yeah. And this is far from over.
No. This is just the beginning.
The story is going to keep unfolding.
And we're going to be here to unpack it every step of the way.
Absolutely. I mean, the implications are huge here.
Yeah, what could happen?
We could see congressional inquiries,
Possibly.
maybe renewed calls for investigations.
Yeah.
I think this could really erode public trust even further in our institutions.
It's definitely not going to help.
No.
And, we'll be here to cover it
Of course, every step of the way.
as the story unfolds.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime,
Yeah.
there's another power struggle brewing in Washington
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
that could affect all of us.
Okay.
We're talking about Russell Vought,
Ah, yes.
and his plan to completely change the federal budget.
Project 2025.
That's it.
This isn't just about cutting spending.
No.
It's about reshaping the role of government.
Yeah, and Vaught's the nominee to lead the Office of Management and Budget.
Right.
He hasn't exactly been quiet about what he wants to do.
What's he said?
He wants to inflict trauma on the federal workforce.
Trauma?
That's what he said.
Wow.
He sees career civil servants as the enemy,
Interesting.
and he wants to dismantle what he sees as this big, inefficient bureaucracy.
I mean, some people would say that's fair.
Yeah, but his rhetoric has been pretty alarming.
I can imagine.
He said, "We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected."
Seriously.
Yeah, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains.
I've never heard a government official speak like that.
Yeah, it's pretty unprecedented.
And I bet federal employees are feeling pretty uneasy right now.
Absolutely. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty.
Yeah.
But it's not just the words.
Right.
It's the substance of his proposals.
Like what?
He wants deep cuts to agency budgets.
Across the board.
Yeah, deregulation of major industries.
Yeah.
And he wants to challenge the authority of Congress.
Wow. This is big.
It's a huge power grab.
So what exactly would these cuts look like?
Well, the Videntis report has a lot of details.
Yeah.
We're talking about cuts to everything.
Like what kind of everything?
Environmental protection,
Okay.
education,
Uh-huh.
healthcare.
It's a lot.
It's essentially shrinking the government,
Yeah.
reducing its role in regulating the economy and providing social services.
I mean, people have different views on how big the government should be.
Of course, but a lot of people are worried about the impact these cuts could have.
Yeah. And Senator Patty Murray,
Big critic of Vought.
she says that this whole approach disrespects Congress's power over spending.
Right. This is their constitutional authority.
So we've got a power struggle here.
Absolutely, between the executive and legislative branches.
And we saw this play out recently with that federal funding freeze.
Oh, yeah. Ordered by the OMB.
But then a federal judge blocked it.
Yeah. Constitutional concerns.
This is a dangerous precedent.
It is because the administration is trying to go around Congress,
Right.
implement its own agenda.
And that raises questions about our democracy.
Absolutely, the balance of power.
And if Vaught gets his way with Project 2025.
I mean, it could completely change the relationship between the government and the people.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. And it kind of brings us back to these anxieties we were talking about, the fear in immigrant communities.
That uncertainty around the Epstein scandal,
Yeah.
all this uncertainty about the future of our government.
It's like a feeling that things are falling apart.
Yeah, it feels like the systems we depend on are failing.
Yeah. And that those in power don't really care about us.
You know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all this.
It really is.
Want to just tune it out.
Yeah.
But we can't.
No, we have to stay informed.
Engage.
We have to hold our leaders accountable.
Demand transparency.
We have to fight for the future we want.
That's what the Videntis podcast is all about.
Absolutely giving you the information you need to navigate these crazy times.
We're going to keep digging into these stories,
Uncovering the truth.
empowering you to make informed decisions.
So let's take a closer look at these budget cuts.
Yeah. Where exactly is Vaught planning to cut?
And who's pushing back against this plan?
We'll be right back. And we're back.
To the deep dive.
Still sorting through all this news.
Trying to make sense of it all.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Immigration raids, Trump and Epstein,
Yeah.
this whole battle over the federal budget.
Each story is huge on its own.
Right.
But when you put them all together, it's like, wow.
It's a lot.
It really shows you where we are as a country.
Yeah, it feels like we're at a crossroads.
Definitely with all these different paths ahead of us.
So this budget showdown,
Yeah, Vaught's Project 2025.
it's got people worried.
He has.
He's not messing around.
No, he wants to shrink the government.
Big time.
It's not just about efficiency, though.
What is it about then?
It's about ideology. Okay.
He wants to roll back social programs.
The safety net.
Yeah, deregulate industries.
More power to corporations.
That's the
A
idea.
lot of people are really uncomfortable with that vision.
They are, especially with all the inequality we're seeing.
The economic insecurity.
Exactly.
So the Videntis report really gets into the potential consequences.
Of these cuts.
And they don't look good.
No, they don't.
Environmental protections could suffer.
Yeah?
Public education, healthcare access.
Millions of people rely on these programs.
To survive.
Yeah, for healthcare.
Food.
Housing.
If these cuts happen,
A lot of families could be pushed into poverty.
it's a scary thought.
It is.
And it all circles back to that feeling of anxiety,
Yeah.
the fear in immigrant communities.
The uncertainty around the Epstein case.
This feeling that the people in charge don't have our best interests at heart.
It's easy to want to shut it all out.
I know, but we can't.
We have to stay informed,
Engage.
hold our leaders accountable,
Demand transparency.
fight for a better future.
That's why we do what we do.
That's right. The Videntis Podcast.
We're here to help you make sense of it all.
So keep listening
Keep learning.
and keep fighting the good fight.
We'll be back next time with more.
Until then, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.